Hi, it is nice to meet you on the path. Today's episode is spending time. Real quick, I was supposed to have a podcast yesterday with someone. I had to reschedule it for next week. So next Sunday he'll be coming on. It's a cool guest. Like Saturday, so today's Monday, so it's supposed to be Sunday at 11 a.m. Like Saturday night, and this has happened a couple times now. Got like these crazy abdominal cramps, like especially right up by my solar plexus. Just super intense. I don't know why. It happened before. I couldn't sleep, can't get comfortable, and just like contracting harder and harder, and like what the hell? And it'd kind of like come and go, mostly not go. Um, and then fall asleep, wake up. It's like feel like a little bit, almost like it's just a intense ab workout. So I didn't get any sleep at all, and my alarm went off, and I was like already up still. So I sent him a message and rescheduled. But anyways, so next Sunday, and then the Sunday after that, I have another really cool guest. And it was kind of interesting because I sent him an invitation like over a year ago and he didn't see it. And we're Facebook friends. There's a hint. But so I sent him another invitation and I left him a comment. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't see your invitation." So he said he'd be on. That'll be cool. And I'm looking forward to that. I'd read a book of his a while back. And anyways, so I'm really looking forward to those shows. But anyways, how we spend our time. So we only get so much. Some of us, we think we're busy. We go to work, we work our 8-hour day. Maybe we're there for 8.5 hours. Maybe it's 10 hours. It takes a half hour to get there and back. So there's let's call it 11 hours. And then we have 13 hours left to sleep, eat, take care of whatever else. So my guess is you're pretty busy today. So maybe you're listening to this whatever time it is. You're busy yesterday or busy day tomorrow. Do you think you'll get more stuff done than Elon Musk? How does that guy get so much done? I mean, it's just amazing, isn't it? How much time do you think he spends debating with people he doesn't know on Facebook? My guess, and I don't know for sure, I bet it hovers around he doesn't at all. Today I found myself in that spot. I wasn't arguing with someone on Facebook, but it like the stage was kind of set for that. And sometimes I don't do it, but it happens. It's you get like sucked into this vortex sometimes. So I was part of this yoga group, this big yoga group on Facebook, like 25,000, 29,000 members or something like that. And somebody posts something about where can he learn more about the debate between Hindu nationalism via yoga or something. And I'm looking at the question like, what? Does that even make sense? What is Hindu nationalism? So nationalism, okay. Hindu, okay. Is Hindu a nation? Now I know Hindu nationalism is like it's a thing, okay. I Googled it to try to figure out like where this guy was coming from because it didn't make sense to me. And so somebody had already put the comment, and I saw the post like 15 minutes after it was posted or something. And somebody posted, "Great question." I'm looking at it. Is it really? I don't think it makes any sense. And I don't even remember how it was. But it was like the debate between Hindu nationalism and yoga and something. Like what? And so I commented that I don't think that the question makes sense. It's like, because is Hindu a nation? First of all, can you have Hindu nationalism if Hindu isn't a nation? Now, I know the term can mean something else. I did Google it, but it still doesn't make sense to me. There's a lot of terms that are used these days that I think are just like these stuff people kind of make up. And then there can be endless debate about it because it's not even real. So you'll get this like, so I'm not trying to pretend I'm an expert on Hindu nationalism and what the greatest minds that are talking about it have to say and all of the perspectives. I'm not saying I get it from that and I'm somehow above this whole thing and understand it completely. But my comment was that question, you can find an answer to it, but it's not going to be a consensus, because he was like looking for the debate. So you can find that. But then what? Okay. So who was a better band, Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd? Is that even that's not a good question, right? What do you expect to happen from that question? You can have people debate, but there's not going to be any kind of closure from that. If you want to listen to Led Zeppelin, fine, listen to Led Zeppelin. You've been listening to Led Zeppelin for 6 months straight. Sick of Led Zeppelin. Pink Floyd, oh man, that's better. Now I'm listening to Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd 6 months straight, man. Led Zeppelin, that's better. But anyways, see, you can find a debate, but is the question even worth debating? So if you're talking about something like yoga, and in this group there's like endless debate, and almost anything that anybody says starts a debate. And people will use words like mansplaining and gaslighting, and then there's and the admins even had to put a thing like quit saying mansplaining and because every time somebody says something, instead of talking about what has been said, they attack the person. They will attack the person. Not every time, but I see it over and over again, so I don't comment. And sometimes, the times that I have posted, sometimes I was talking about the way to further modernize the yoga practice to make it make more sense, because tons of people are getting injured from it because a lot of the stuff just doesn't make sense. And a lot of the teachers in this group know that. They're from all over the world. A lot of them are in Canada and India, all over the place. But there's specifically some ones in Canada. I don't want to get too into it, but that have been teaching for 30 years, so they understand very deeply what is going on, and they've seen the injuries and they see how these practices led to it. But so what am I getting to here? So but if you just like keep practicing, in my comment I put that the answer doesn't have words, like so many of these other debates or some of these other answers that people are throwing at each other in these debates. Those aren't, it's not it. So my comment was basically the answer is that's not even a question. Talking about the Hindu nationalism and yoga, because a lot of it comes back to cultural appropriation and I would expect that kind of comment from a white person, because white people can't understand these concepts, and it's usually coming from another white person. It's rare that I would see the Indian, or although it does happen, say that the white people can't understand something. I've seen that, sure, but a lot of times it's this white on white racism. It's so bizarre. So that's why I pulled myself out from the group. But sometimes I will comment, and a lot of my, I shouldn't say a lot because I know that I posted a lot, but several of my comments and ideas have gotten a good response from a lot of teachers that they liked my ideas that I presented. So I posted this, like, so your question isn't a good question, and the answer is people can have this debate, but why? Go back to the practice, because it's probably not going to be debating people on Facebook that gives you this breakthrough to your next level of consciousness. Who am I talking to? Am I talking to that guy, or am I talking to myself? So you know what I did? After somebody commented to me something, I don't understand something, and she couldn't believe I just chimed in and blah, blah, blah. I didn't even finish reading her comment that was just attacking me more than my point. I read it. I kind of got the idea. And then so I deleted my comment. I'm not going to worry about that. Because then you find yourself looking back, like, I'm going to check Facebook and see what somebody said about my thing. Did anybody like it? Did anybody make a comment? What's the ratio to... And then I left the group. I went back and just you know what? I'm checking out. Checking out. So I like having discussions with people that think differently than me. So I'm 40 years old. It took me 40 years to get to the point where I made that comment. That's where I was at that point in time. Add a half hour to that, I wasn't there anymore. Am I making sense? Are you following me? So it's a private group, so you have to join. I don't see why they wouldn't let me back in, but I'm not going to. Not going to do it. So we only have 24 hours in a day. I have the same amount of time in my day as Elon Musk, Benjamin Franklin. Well, I think he's out of time. He's doing whatever. I don't know what he's doing now, but he checked out of this realm. But you get my point, right? So he had 24 hours a day. How much do you think he spent it arguing with people? Especially ones that he didn't know. I don't know a lot about his life, but he had time to crank out a lot of Thomas Edison. That's who I meant to say. Did I say Benjamin Franklin? I meant Thomas Edison. But maybe Franklin's not as good of an example. Anyways, so I don't want to spend my time doing that. I'm going to spend it doing other things. So as most of you probably know, if you've heard the show before, I'm a strength and conditioning instructor. And on that note, I am having a holiday special. Real quick here. I'm offering 6 sessions for the price of 5, 10 for the price of 8, and 20 for the price of 15. That's good for online or in person, and it can cover strength training, weight loss, all kinds of fitness goals. So if you're interested, you can send me a message. The easiest one to remember would be the email for the show, which would be pathnotespodcast@gmail.com. But anyways, so I'm often kicking around ideas, business ideas, business project ideas with other people that I know. And I get things come up pretty regularly. So like, what am I going to devote my time to? Because some things can become a distraction. And so if I did everything that comes up, none of them will work out very well. All right. You wonder, how many times does Elon Musk say no per day? Or, he's doing these huge things, this space travel, building a tunnel under Los Angeles to help traffic, and of course Tesla and the new Tesla truck. He's doing all kinds of stuff. How many people would love to have him on their team? How many people are just crawling over each other to get to him, to try to partner with him? So it's amazing how many things that he can focus on. And so what will you focus on? Because you have a lot of opportunities also. So maybe you're not really in business for yourself, or maybe you're like a lot of people, maybe you have a regular full-time job. Maybe you like it, but you still want to have your own business. Maybe the job that you have and you like isn't really your passion. You like it, but your passion is something else. Maybe you like making jewelry, or you like maybe it's Maybe you want to be a personal trainer, a strength and conditioning coach, or a basketball coach, or whatever. How can you do it? There was a time, it's been a while now. It was one of those times where I got pulled into Facebook for a while, and I checked my activity on there. And even though I wasn't on it for this long straight, like over the course of, I don't remember how long it was, say maybe like 5 days, I was averaging, was it like almost 2 hours a day? It was something crazy like that. And I saw that, I was like, whoa. And a lot of times it's like in between stuff. But still, how many times could you take that 2 hours? How could you manage that time a little more wisely? It's like, okay, I have 5 minutes before I have to leave. What can I do? Well, there's a few dishes in the sink. I can just wash those dishes. Okay, I have to leave in a half hour. Well, how about get the guitar out, play some guitar for a half hour? Or if it's a fitness thing, you can get a lot done in a half hour if you choose. I hope I'm making sense here. I'm going to read something from Kahlil Gibran. I was thinking he had something on time. Here we go. I don't remember reading this one on the show, but I might have. Uh, and an astronomer said, Master, what of time? And he answered, You would measure time, the measureless and the immeasurable. You would adjust your conduct and even direct the course of your spirit according to hours and seasons. Of time you would make a stream upon whose bank you would sit and watch its flowing. Yet the timeless in you is aware of life's timelessness and knows that yesterday is but today's memory and tomorrow is today's dream. And that which sings and contemplates in you is still dwelling within the bounds of that first moment which scattered the stars into space. Who among you does not feel that his power to love is boundless? And yet who does not feel that very love, though boundless, encompassed within the center of his being and moving not from love thought to love thought, nor from love deeds to love other love deeds? And is not time, even as love is, undivided and paceless? But if in your thought you must measure time into seasons, let each season encircle all other seasons, and let today embrace the past with remembrance and the future with longing. So I hope when people listen to this show, it gets them thinking. I want it to be, I'm not really trying to be an entertainer, but I want people to enjoy it. And people say that they listen while they're driving, they listen while they're cleaning their house, they listen at work. I get good feedback from people listening. And I hope the time is well spent. I mean, if you're in a car and you're driving and you can listen, then I think that's pretty cool. How about another from Kahlil Gibran? Now, I thought about reading the whole thing, not at once, but like one section at a time. But I don't know if I'll do that or not. So what can you spend your time better on? So another thing, while I didn't have anything picked out of this Kahlil brand, but something else I was thinking of is, so even though I have my own business and I have these other projects going on, I'm also looking for, if I can fit it into my schedule, even another part-time job. And I actually applied for the library. I live just a couple blocks from a library, and it was interesting. I put an application in yesterday. I had an idea. So there was, like, I got hired on. I went through a process to get hired on just as like a seasonal thing for FedEx. Okay. And then I decided I'm not going to do it because the hours were pretty much the worst hours that they could possibly be. And that's 11 at night until maybe 5 in the morning. It probably wouldn't be that long, but something like that, just Monday through Thursday. And I could theoretically, well, I would have to be at my other job at 6 a.m. I work until 2:30, and then usually have like a little bit of time. Then I have clients, and um, so I could like theoretically like sleep after but like before clients for a little bit, after clients for a little bit. And then I was like, that's dumb. That's not going to work. Cause you have to be like you have to be present for your clients. And so I decided not to do it. And cause they pay more when it's seasonal, and through this place that I know of pays more than if you just go to FedEx itself, pays almost twice as much for that time. So I was going to do it, and I decided not to. I was like, well, I have a little time in my schedule where I would like to make a little bit more, but something that if when I needed to quit, it wouldn't be a big deal. Something that could be flexible. And I was like, well, I like the library. I go there pretty frequently. I always have a ton of books out, and it seems like that would be a pretty relaxed job. And so I look it up, and it said like they're accepting applications. They're hiring 3 people, and they're accepting the applications up until 11:59 p.m. And it was like 7 p.m. that day. I'm like, oh, okay. So I filled it out, and we'll see what happens there if it could work out. I think like, okay, so I have all these things going on. I don't like have to do it, but I want to do more. I'm always wanting to put myself in a better position. I'm always like looking at these different business opportunities. I have friends that do all kinds of cool stuff, and I have opportunities pop up. I had just in the last week and a half, 2 different ones pop up. And how major and minor they will be, I don't know. But we'll see. I'm looking at them. And so I'm always trying to do something more. So that's with my time. I'm spending my time. One thing that I'm trying to do also, I'm like looking at my spending. Like, okay, I do pretty well. I don't really have any vices. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't really spend money on things that I shouldn't. Um, it's rare that I buy something and regret it. That's rare. But where I can cut back is on what I spend on food. And so I've been more conscious of that lately and cutting back. You think like, okay, so it'd been a while since I bought like a bag of potatoes, like whole potatoes. But I was buying like a bag of potatoes that were already cut up. So you can buy like basically 1 pound or 20 ounces of potatoes that are already cut up for like $4-5, or you can buy like 10 pounds of potatoes for $4. So do you want 1 pound of potato for $4, or do you want 10 pounds of potatoes for $4? Well, for a while, since my schedule's so crazy and I'm taking on more and more all the time, I'm like, okay, I got to quit doing that. I got to start doing that. I'm always the currency of my energy and time and the allocation of my mental bandwidth or whatever it's a constant adjustment. And so I bought, for the first time in a while, I bought the 10-pound bag. It's not as convenient. I mean, to cut those potatoes up, it takes a minute. Isn't it crazy? So, and I have not been, except like with friends, like after a concert, I haven't been out to a restaurant. There's this really good restaurant that I would go to. I shouldn't say the name. It's a good restaurant, and it's basically on my way home, super convenient. And I would stop there, and it would cost me like $13. It costs $13 for the meal that I get there. So it's not like a crazy amount of money. What about 10 times? Okay, that's $130. Well, it's still not like make you or break you kind of money. It's not that big of a deal. But there's that, and then they're stopping at the grocery store for other convenient stuff. And so buying the 10-pound, 10 like single bags of potatoes that are already cut up, 10 pounds would be $40 instead of $4 for the 10 pounds. Yeah, that adds up. So we're not talking like crazy amounts of money here. These aren't life-changing amounts of money, exactly. But over time, it really adds up. Right? So my point isn't that, the $4 difference or $6 difference or $13. My point is, well, how long does it take to make that money? Okay, well, not really that long, but it takes some time. So is it worth that amount of time for that amount of convenience? Sometimes yes, but oftentimes no. And something as simple as, so you get like a loaf of bread. I usually get stuff that's pretty good. It's about $5. And then you get like a jar of peanut butter that's another like $5. Well, how long does that last? That's peanut butter probably outlasts the bread, but Yeah, it's a good amount of like calories and protein, and it's a, it's worth the time that it takes to make that money, right? It's not like I'm in like some kind of desperate situation, so it's not like um, but I'm always like trying to tighten things up, and a lot of it is convenience. But then, if I do something like take another job, it's, how great's the pay going to be? Well, I don't know. We'll see if I even want to, we'll see what happens. There's some jobs there that pay okay. And, um, but then would I trade? Is it worth it like to work an hour for one meal? Does that make sense? I mean, almost no matter what you make, how much, whatever you make, whether you're making 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year, think about how much you make per hour. Do you want to spend that on one meal? So, in that same way, do you want to spend that much time like arguing with somebody on Facebook? It's so easy to get pulled into that. So, am I making sense here? I hope I'm making sense. So, I'm always just trying to like tighten things up. I'm always trying to bring in more, spend less, take care of all these different things. And the priestess spoke again and said, "Speak to us of reason and passion." And he answered, saying, "Your soul is oftentimes a battlefield upon which your reason and your judgment wage war against your passion and your appetite." Would that I could be the peacemaker in your soul, that I might turn the discord and the rivalry of your elements into oneness and melody. But how shall I, unless you yourselves be also the peacemakers, nay, the lovers of all your elements? Your reason and your passion are the rudder and the sails of your seafaring soul. If either your sails or your rudder be broken, you can but toss and drift, or else be held at a standstill in mid seas. For reason ruling alone is a force confining, and passion unattended is a flame that burns to its own destruction. Therefore, let your soul exalt your reason to the height of passion, that it may sing, and let it direct your passion with reason, that your passion may live through its own daily resurrection, and like the phoenix, rise above its own ashes. I would have you consider your judgment and your appetite even as you would two loved guests in your house. Surely you would not honor one guest above the other, for he who is more mindful of one loses the love and the faith of both. Among the hills, when you sit in the cool shade of the white poplars, sharing the peace and serenity of distant fields and meadows, then let your heart say in silence, God rests in reason. And when the storm comes, and the mighty wind shakes the forest, and thunder and lightning proclaim the majesty of the sky, then let your heart say in awe, God moves in passion. And since you are a breath in God's sphere and a leaf in God's forest, you too should rest in reason and move in passion. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about bread and peanut butter just as bread and peanut butter, right? See, I tend to think like very symbolically, and like one thing means all this other stuff. So like all So it can be kind of hard for me to articulate exactly what I'm thinking, if indeed that's impossible for anyone to be able to say what they really feel or they really think. Because is that really what you're thinking, or that's just these thoughts that pop up? Is that you thinking, or is that just thoughts that randomly pop up? Are they thoughts that just pop up, or are they thoughts that you dug to get to? That you've thought through things and you've made a trail. You took the forest of thoughts and you organized it. Trail. Okay, here's this, and it goes to this, and this is why this is that way, and it's not easy. And I think it's becoming, well, I don't know if it's less common now, but looking at it from a 40-year-old, and I'm looking at what's going on in, I'm not sure how good social media is as a thermometer of or how good it is at measuring the real pulse of the world. Do you think it is? Do you think, because to me, the social media world is like often more like hostile. Like Instagram, it seems to be this pretty positive thing. Facebook, it seems like it's a lot easier to go down this negative spiral. It's designed that way. Uh, the algorithms and stuff, if like it's these controversies that people get drawn into, and so it like feeds you more controversy. And, you know, that's people's path. You know, they get real hung up on it's not just making a point to somebody that you don't know. Oh, that's what it can look like on the surface. But in ways, we're trying to like make this point to ourselves too. Like, I'm this well thought out, woke dude. You should really need to hear my opinion on this stuff. And so when I do this show, it's not like I'm just trying to teach people stuff. It's more of a, here's some stuff to think about. This is where I am, and probably like where I am has a lot of similarities to where you are too. Because we're all not, we're all more alike than different, aren't we? Everybody's making some kind of decision they wish they didn't. Think better of it later. Whether it's paying too much for a bag of potatoes because they're already cut up for you, or maybe somebody wants to quit drinking. Part of them wants to quit drinking, and another part of them stops at the liquor store on the way home for a fifth of whiskey. And then those two parts themselves do battle that night. You know, one swallow at a time, right? one of the best thinkers I think that we have today is Jordan Peterson. And that guy can really think through some things. And he's inspired me in ways to like think through things and how to get to my thoughts and reasoning, and not just the first thoughts that pop up. But he was talking about a guy, so a lot of people think one of their problems is they don't have enough money. Most people want more money. Do you like making what you're making now, or would you like to make another $10 an hour? Would you like to make another 100,000 a year, or you fine right now? Most people, they sure would like a bit more, almost no matter what. So is more money a good thing? And Jordan was talking about a patient that he had, and the guy was on welfare, and he had alcohol problem and a drug problem, I believe. And so he'd get his government check in the mail, and he would go out and he'd blow it all on alcohol and drugs, and end up being found in a ditch the next day. After that, he'd be out of money for the month, but he'd start to get himself together. It's time to quit drinking. It's time to stop doing these things. And well, he couldn't afford it if he wanted to. So things pick up for the next few weeks. Clean, sober. That check comes, goes out, drinks, does drugs. They find him in a ditch the next day. Picks himself up. Got to knock that off. Got to get cleaned up. Quits the drinking. Quits the drugs. Couldn't afford them anyway. Things go pretty well for the next few weeks. And then that check comes. Same thing. So who am I talking to? Is this making sense to you? So as the Grateful Dead song goes, can't talk to you without talking to me. So I do this show. I explore my own thoughts. I'm not trying to be some spiritual leader, some philosophical arrow. I'm a dude that's on the path, So as I'm ever more turning the crank, shaving off of what I don't want and pulling in what I do want, accepting what I do want. I see those things like the I guess if about the worst thing I do is buy a bag of potatoes, it's not the best deal, I guess I'm doing all right. So where can you tighten things up? Where do you want to tighten things up? Because this is your time. So I'm not talking about the potatoes. We're talking about, even though I'm literally talking about that. That is but it's symbolic of much more than that. I think most people that listen to this show would understand. The words come out at one level, but the meaning behind them is, I'm hoping it's at a different level. There's friends that I've had, I know a lot of people that have their own businesses, and some of them they work another job, and then they're working on their other business, and then they're looking for some more money to come in too. And so some of these people have asked me, I've asked some other people, because I'm in that same boat. I have what I call my job. I have my own business. It's profitable, going pretty well. I still want to do better. Trying to grow the podcast. I'm working on these projects. I'm deciding what other people I want to get involved with. It's pretty cool. All in all, I look around at what I'm doing, and kind of amazed by it, really. It's not like I'm content with it. So I don't know if I finished the thought. So when we're arguing with that person on Facebook, we're trying to convince ourselves that we have this answer, that we have these things thought out. And that other person, it doesn't matter if we don't know them. It's a challenge to our own thinking. Sometimes we're so threatened by that. I was watching, that show, Steven Crowder, Change My Mind. Well, I watched one today that it was Thanksgiving is not racist, change my mind. And he does these oftentimes at colleges. And sorry if you can hear that dog across the street barking. But people didn't know really what Thanksgiving was, that it was a specific day. And there's, of course, a lot of horrible things that happened with Europeans coming over and the indigenous people that were already here. There was horrible things going on before the Europeans got here. It's not like the natives were peaceful to each other. Pretty much the same story all over the world. But they didn't know, these college students, they didn't really know that it was talking about a specific day, and then why Abraham Lincoln made that day from 200 years before a national holiday. And it was the idea to come together, no matter who you are, what race, whatever, to have this day as a holiday because of a day that happened before this country was even a country. And I know that but I guess I didn't really realize what it was either. Of course, we all hear the story, the Pilgrims and the natives, they have a feast together basically, and everything's cool. But I learned a bit about it. Not that I necessarily agree with everything that he says and thinks, or like just see his way, or but it's interesting how many people will not know about something. They'll still argue with you about it. I wonder, where does that come from? It's, I mean, imagine. So we're all pretty vulnerable. We're walking around with these brains in our skulls. It's super fragile. Don't hit your head real hard. We're the like what you expect at different places, like your version of reality. So, I mean, imagine like, okay, you need to go to Walmart. You're going to you get like some chips and a quart of oil for your car, and it's your neighbor's kid's birthday, so you're gonna pick up a Barbie for the kid. So you got some chips, a Barbie, and some oil. Going to Walmart, you walk into Walmart, and it's a disco, or it's like a rave. There's a big party going on. There's no shelves of anything. It's just a bunch of people on MDMA, uh, jamming out to like techno music. Like, what the hell? You're like, you went into the door. It says Walmart on the outside, and you walk in the door, and it's a rave. They're like, what's going on here? You don't expect that. You set your mind up like when you go into this world that should be Walmart, and it's not what you thought it was, and it doesn't make sense, right? Or you've been married for 10 years and you find out your wife, when she's traveling for work, she actually has a whole nother family in another state. That happens. Isn't that great? That happens. It's like, well, this person that I thought I knew, you don't really know them. We have these expectations of our reality, and it's super fragile, but we hope it's like this house of cards. Like, this is okay, this is my marriage. This is how it is. This is how everything is here. Okay, Walmart, it's this place. They have chips, they have oil, they have Barbies. Okay. And if one of those things turns out to be something different than we thought, then what else are we wrong about? Because that's our reality, right? You live with this person. She travels a lot. Well, it turns out she has another family. Okay. Or the husband, he travels a lot. Well, he has another wife and kids 2 states away. You had no idea. It's been going on for years. This happens. Imagine how that messes with your reality. So when we're talking with somebody on Facebook, we have this idea, we really, really want our ideas to be the way it is. I think that's like where a lot of religious stuff comes from. Like, this is my religion, this is what I believe, and if you say something else, no, it can't be that way because it has to be this way. This is what happens when we die. This is what happens when we live. That's what that guy said 2,000 years ago, and that's how it was 6,000 years ago, and this is what happened here. And if anybody starts messing with that, it's like it just throws off your whole reality. I think it's a lot of it just kind of comes down to like the fear of death. Does that make sense? And the fear of being lost and not knowing where we are. Even if you're sitting still, you're at a stoplight, you're at home, or you may be in your car and you're driving 50 miles an hour, you're on the highway. Well, the Earth is rotating fast. It's like 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, right? It's something like that. And we're going through the space like 18 miles per second or something like something crazy. Our galaxy, it's like, so how fast are we going? So we're spinning. There's centrifugal force, centripetal force. We're spinning. We're rotating, and so is our solar system, our galaxy. You're not where you were just a second ago. Not even close. You're not anywhere close to where you were just a second ago. Am I making sense? Am I getting my point across here? So I think what we're doing when we're arguing with people is we're clinging to our version of the truth, because when we find out that we're wrong, to find out it can really mess with us, can it? We get these different levels of like what makes sense to do with our time. Like it's been a long time since I've played GI Joes. I used to play with my kids. Even my daughter liked GI Joes. She had Barbies. She had GI Joes. Son liked GI Joes. So I was playing with them, but I didn't. But and that made sense, but it didn't. But I wasn't playing. So let's say, so my daughter's 21. So we're going back, let's say 15 years or whatever. So I'm 40. So I was 25 years old playing GI Joes, but with my daughter. I wasn't getting together with my other buddies that were 25 years old and playing GI Joes. That didn't make sense. But I did when I was 6. I did when I was 7, 8. I think I quit playing with toys when I was like 11 or so, something like that. 10 or 11. I'm pretty sure I was 10. Playing with GI Joes made a lot of sense. And then it didn't. Be like 18 years old playing GI Joes. Have kids. Now it makes sense to play GI Joes with them. So and just like that, and my point, if you remember the person commenting on that yoga, talking about like asking about the debate of Hindu nationalism and yoga. Okay, so he's at that place where he's like thinking about that, and I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not a question. That's not the question. But it took him however long, 30, 40 years or whatever, to get to that question. And I'm like, that's not even a question. Right? But he has to sort that out for himself first. Just like I had to sort out, oh yeah, I did that thing again where I commented on Facebook. I got to quit doing that. Oh, it's this group. It's one of these vortexes of time destruction. Leave group. Press a button. It's gone. That makes sense. The G.I. Joe thing. The so what will we do with our time? So we each get 24 hours a day, and we don't know how many of those 24 hours we get. So I'm going to pick one more thing randomly from the prophet, and we will call it a day. Flip, 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 stop. Then a priestess said, "Speak to us of prayer." And he answered, saying, "You pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy and in your days of abundance. For what is prayer but the expansion of yourself into the living ether? And if it is for your comfort to pour your darkness into space, is it it is also for your delight to pour forth the dawning of your heart. And if you cannot but weep when your soul summons you to prayer, she should spur you again and yet again, though weeping, until you shall come laughing. When you pray, you rise to meet in the air those who are praying at that very hour, and whom save in prayer you may not meet. Therefore, let your visit to that temple invisible be for naught but ecstasy and sweet communion. For if you should enter the temple for no other purpose than for asking, you shall not receive. And if you should enter into it to humble yourself, you shall not be lifted. Or even if you should enter into it, beg for the good of others, you shall not be heard. It is enough that you enter the temple invisible. I cannot teach you how to pray in words. God listens not to your words, save for when he himself utters them through your lips. And I cannot teach you the prayer of the seas and the forests and the mountains. But you who are born of the mountains and the forests and the seas can find their prayer in your heart. And if you but listen in the stillness of the night, you shall hear them saying in silence, Our God, who art our winged self, it is thy will in us that willeth. It is thy desire in us that desireth. It is thy urge in us that would turn our nights, which are thine, into days, which are thine also. We cannot ask thee for aught, for thou knowest our needs before they are born in us. Thou art our need, and in giving us more of thyself, thou givest us all. I hope I'm making sense, and even if I'm not making sense to you, maybe it can help you make more sense of yourself. Just like maybe that time on Facebook, typing out a reply that's supposed to be witty and deep. Maybe sometimes it's worth it, even if those thoughts that we fancy as witty and deep at that moment, 10 minutes later, we may find them juvenile and unnecessary, the realization and acceptance of that may make it worth it and that time not wasted. And as long as we can learn and keep shaving away that which doesn't serve us, then I guess we're doing pretty good. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.